And here we
go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dual Talk episode 2.
Dude, how funny would it be if one day we come back to the podcast, we're like dressed nice now. We come back, we're like homeless and shit, and we're like fucking covered in like fucking dirt.
It's been 84 years.
I've been living under a bridge for the last month and a half.
Well, I don't have a job right now. Shout out Xiaoping.
Shout out to the motherfucker, dude. Yeah, you guys should check him out.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, you know.
You
for
don't
real.
fucking know. All right, so what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dual Shock and Dual Talk. Like I said, episode 2, Attack of the Clones. We are back at it again. It's been a little bit over a month since the last time we recorded, and honestly, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for the support. I think over 500 people watched that, and I was surprised.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, same. That's wild.
So we're breaking up.
Yeah, this is the last one. We're never doing them again.
No, man, I just want to ask super generally, how are you? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Staying busy with work. I've been just busy in general, dude. I've been fucking going all over the place. I was just in California.
My tracking device on you has been going crazy.
Boop, boop, boop.
Strip club? What? Without me?
No, I've been in Cali. I was with my family, stayed in a cabin for a bit in Tahoe. That was really nice. Much needed. I needed to get out of the fucking city.
Oh my god, I bet just like a little bit of an unplug was like super.
It was a good like mental reset, I think.
Yeah, I imagine. Holy shit.
Yeah, but now that I'm like back and I have a little bit of downtime, I'm like, fuck, I need to catch up on a lot of shit, dude. Like, a lot of shit. Like it's nice to have vacations like that. The only thing that sucks about having vacations when you're an adult is that when you come back, you're like, I have to make up for all the shit that I wasn't doing. Like, oh, I realized I have 2 loads of laundry that I have not done in 2 weeks because I've been, gone and not at the apartment. So like, that's the one thing that sucks about being back is like, fuck, I have so much shit
Here's
I have
the
to
thing,
catch
though.
up on.
I've been here and I also have 2 loads of laundry, so I just haven't done it.
Yeah.
Oh my god! But like, what have you been up to? Like, apart from that, like, I know you like the cabin situation, but like, what have you been doing in your free time? Fuck, nobody wants to hear about work. Nobody cares about your work.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, fuck work. I mean, work's cool.
No, it's crazy because like that's the thing that people default to when they talk to you. Is like, how's work going? I'm like, I hate that more than anything.
Yeah, I talk about work enough. Like any of my work buddies that try to talk me outside of work about work, I'm like, dude, I check that shit at the door. I'm like done talking about it. But
you know me, I'm the same way. But like, yeah, for some reason it's just like, oh, so like, how's work going? Like, man, like it's the fucking weekend.
Yeah,
I don't want to tell you about how
it fucking sucks.
Well, yeah, man. What have you been playing? What you been up to?
I've been dabbling a little bit more in Ableton, trying to get like chipping away at that, trying to learn a little bit more. It's still really complicated. I think I talked about it last time, right? That I had it, or maybe I didn't.
That's
maybe
a
I talked
good
about
question.
buying it. I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe you were just picking it up. Maybe you like putzed around a little bit with it, but
yeah, I've been toying around with it here and there. I haven't really written anything on it yet, but I've been, like just trying to get, I guess, the mechanics of it down and just trying to dial that in and figure out how everything on there works because it's so vastly different than the last software I was using, which I would just basically just record, maybe throw a compressor. Sorry, this is nerdy music shit, but maybe throw like a compressor on some of the instruments and then slap together, like layer it with some guitars, layer it with some vocals, and then just throw it on SoundCloud or YouTube, as opposed to like actually writing drums, actually writing synthesizers, actually like putting together a well-constructed song. It's a lot more. It's like if that was like at a 2 added, like times 2 was Audacity. This is like times 10.
I was going to say, for those of you guys that want to know, the program he's using prior was actually Audacity. It's a program I'm familiar with, but I just do use it for like voiceover stuff.
It's free.
Yeah, so if you just want something that's simple to like record tracks, like some minor editing, it's kind of weird to navigate, but I mean, with as much as you used it, like I'm sure you kind of had it down pat.
I will say that's the one thing about Ableton that I really like is that it's like an affordable DAW. But also they have like built-in tutorials that kind of teach you like, all right, you're trying to just figure out how to map out drums. Well, just click on this tutorial and we'll walk you through it step by step. Like Audacity doesn't do that.
With that said though, Ableton, it may be affordable, but don't let that like think that it like detracts in quality because it's like a top tier software for as affordable as it is. Like people use that at the highest level.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, dude? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been doing my usual editing and stuff like that, and working on the channel, working on Crouch Block a little bit more in the free time.
You just did that Batman Beyond video.
Yes, sir. Pretty happy with that, but also like, yeah, and I definitely want to talk about this a little bit. But like when you finish something, and after you finish it, like you're decently happy with the product that you put out, but you think on it a little bit. And it's like, man, I could have done more. Like I could have pushed a little bit harder on it.
Yeah.
And I've been watching a ton of anime.
You felt that way when you put out that video?
A little bit.
Why?
Because I pitched it initially as like a skeleton of like, hey, Warner Brothers, dumbasses, you guys have a perfect recipe for a movie in your bag and you're just not using it.
Right.
Like, do you not like money?
Right.
So it's like, here's the skeleton. I'm going to add a little bit of what the movie could be in my eyes. But if I'm going to go through that effort anyways, I might as well just crank it up and just like...
So you felt like you should have just fleshed it out a bit more?
Yeah, and I asked my homie to critique it. He left me a whole bunch of notes, and I told him, I was like, yeah, you're right. Like almost half committed to the video, because if I was going to commit as much as I did, I should have just like went all in on it.
See, but I feel that way about songs sometimes too, especially a cover.
Fuck you. Just throw it out the window.
Right. Sometimes I feel like, especially if I'm doing a cover or something, I have an idea. I get torn between where it's like, I really should sit with this and like take my time with it and really try to like, I don't know, like extract as much out of this as I can. And also having the same feeling of like, I want to just get this out and almost like rush through it. Is that kind of how you felt about the video? Where it's like, if I put this down for too long, I'm not going to finish the video.
Yeah, I've been getting better about like hammering out projects, and like the next thing I actually want to do, I was going to start working on a video for an anime, but I don't know how to approach that. The next thing I was thinking of was actually Man of Steel, because you've been telling me to like that I might like that for some time.
I think you will actually. I like Man of Steel. It's pretty solid.
And I've had a little bit of a reevaluation on the character of Superman, because I'm like pretty familiar with Superman, the animated series at this point, and how good it actually is. Like, it's a little bit slept on, actually.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I just finished Liza P, which was extremely all right. It was like, there was like a heavy ramp up in difficulty where near the end of the game, it just like got exponentially harder, but it was decent. And then just restarted Elden Ring, and then just started Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Nice, dude. Hell yeah. I'm excited for you on that one. That's going to be cool, I think.
I'm pretty excited as well. I keep saying that I look like this cute guy that's the main character.
Yeah, you're in the fucking game, for Christ's sake, dude.
But skating a lot as well. I've been
you have been
skating a ton.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about is I'm going to play a little game in a second, but there was an anime I watched that I'm going to pull up real quick. It's just like people finish college and like you're following the main character. The name of the anime is called Sing Yesterday to Me. It's a romance anime, but it's more of like, it's more about your decisions in life. And like romance is a part of it, but so the main character gets done with college, and he's kind of at a point in his life where he doesn't know what he wants to do. So he's working part-time at a convenience store, scraping by and making ends meet.
Okay.
But it's more about like not living with regret. And it's like, and that's something I've been thinking about a lot too, of like more to the point of like, did I give it my all in this situation? Because, you know, it's about like, hey, like you can live your whole life like just at this part-time job if you wanted to. Right. But are you going to be happy with that? Right. When everything is said and done. Yeah. And, you know, this kind of, we were talking a little bit about like competition. Now I'm a competitive dude last night. Like, it's not that I want my friends necessarily to be competitive as well. I just want like seeing people do their best makes me want to do my best.
Sure,
as
it's
well.
inspiring.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, I want that message to come across to people of just like, hey, like I don't want any of my friends to live with regrets about things that they didn't do. Or like, because I'm kind of on the fence about starting writing a manga. Okay. And I've been drawing a lot more.
Oh yeah, dude. And, good shit. You should.
Like, it's just, there's so many things that I want to put out there. I don't want any of my friends to be like, to just be content. I want all my friends to strive for more. Exactly. More.
I just think that everyone's different. Absolutely. So what drives everybody is different. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to figure that out. It's like sometimes I feel like even I come off this way where it's like, I try to like push on like, hey, this is what helps me get motivated to do this thing. But what may help me to get motivated may not help that person. And then I just come off as overbearing. Like I know I've done that to some friends before.
Totally.
So it's hard to like figure out what it is exactly that pushes your friends. And some people just don't want to be pushed.
I get that.
Some people
I know
are
exactly
just content with being content, you know, like, so it's hard to like figure that out about people. But I sometimes feel like that though too. I feel like sometimes I feel like oh, like especially if I put out a song, I'm like, okay, I could have sat on that a little bit longer, but I also don't want to sit on it because I have a couple songs that I've had recorded for a while now, never seen the light of day because I sat on it too long and didn't actually keep going back to it and keep working on it. So now it's just, you know, nothing came of it. So that's why I brought that up to you, is like, because sometimes I feel like that too, where I just feel like if I don't really hyper focus on this for like 3 days, I'm not gonna finish it. That's same applies honestly with fucking games or books or something. Like if I don't honestly just sit and only do this one thing, it'll be rare that I come back to it like a month later.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because like I'm more of someone, like I can do that to varying degrees, like with like crouch block videos and stuff like that, but I'm a chipper. Like I'm someone that like chips away at a thing a little bit over time, and as long as I'm consistently chipping at it, I won't get that feeling of like putting it down, like even if it's just like an hour a day or something like that. I think that works the best for me. And it's like I've noticed for you and for Troy that you'll like, especially for you probably, that you'll like lock yourself in your room. It's like, I'm gonna hard lock in on this thing. I'm like, hey, respect, dude, up, bro.
Yeah, I definitely do that.
Because I mean, that's just, you understand yourself enough where like you're just like, this is how I work the best. This is how I get my shit done.
We've talked about this before. It really just comes down to time.
Absolutely.
That is really the thing that I feel like I have less and less of as I get older. So it's like, genuinely, it's like I gotta lock my room. Like I got 3 days off. This game just came out. That's the time I get to play it, pretty much. I have been trying to be better about that. Like I've been playing Fallout 4 again. Like I put that down for a bit and now I'm going back to it, having a really good time with it. But we talked about this a little bit the other day. I do miss just like having like the 8 to 10 hour game, you know?
I feel
like
that.
I just, something that like I can pick up, play, and not really like think about like, fuck, I've got another like 50 fucking hours until I beat this game, you know? Like I just don't have that kind of time or commitment these days for a game, especially with how many fucking games there are, dude. Like I'll go through my fucking library, see like 50 games that I have and be like, it's like Netflix. I'm like, I don't know what to fucking watch. Like genuinely, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I want to play.
No, totally. I know exactly what you mean. Because, like, funnily enough, I'm playing all games that are probably going to take, like, minimum 20 to 30 hours, if not more. Probably, like, 50.
Yeah.
Like, I'm playing a ton of Souls and Souls-like. And those are all, like, 20 to 40, 50-hour games.
Yeah, but I feel like you probably are in the same boat as me, where it's like you almost have to roadmap the games you're going to play.
Very much
where it's
so.
like, okay, as soon as I'm done with Fallout, it's Demon Souls, this and this and this. And I've just basically planned out my whole year of video gaming, which is crazy because...
That's pretty much what I told you. I was like, oh, hey, I promise you, as soon as I'm done with Liza P, it's time to be the Jedi.
Yeah, and like, I still plan on getting around to Demon Souls, but I'm like, I'm already fucking neck deep in this Fallout game. I gotta finish it. It's really good. I'm enjoying it. It's just... You do start to appreciate just being like, man, I would have been done with the 8 to 10 hour game by now.
Absolutely.
I would have been in and out, done, had a good time, not be going like, fuck, all right, like I'm about what, 30% through this game? I've got 40 hours in there. Like, fuck.
I said to you yesterday, but that's what Call of Juarez was for me.
Yeah.
And you recommended me that game, and I might get around to like 13 or something like that. I can't imagine that's too long of a game.
No. It's not.
But it's so funny because, and I'm sure you'll feel this too by the time you get to a 5 to 10 hour game, that like, dude, a 5 to 10 hour game goes by in like a blink of an eye.
That's why I just put the PS2 in my room, and I was like, I just kind of feel like playing the PS2. I know that makes me fucking old as shit because that console's like 20 years old, but dude, the PS2 slaps.
God,
dude.
like,
I'll throw in like a random PS2 game and play that shit all night, like just vibing the fuck out of it. Like I was playing that like a Wolfenstein game that I just bought, and it's super fun. Like I'm having a great time with it, and it's like the levels are like maybe 10 minutes long.
That's the thing I've noticed about every time we go get like a game from Retro Replay or Cap'n Games.
Yeah.
Is like you know what you're looking for. I'm just like, oh, a fighting game, nice. Like I'm just like, I picked up Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I picked up Tekken 5. I picked up what else, man? Like,
I feel like it's kind of funny you say that because I actually feel like for once, like when I go into Capcom games, I don't have like a thing where I'm like, I'm looking for this game. Like all the games that I liked when I was younger or like remember, I'm like, I own all of them now. So whatever it's just kind of like you just find that rogue game, you're like, oh, I fucking forgot about that, and just happen chance buy it. Like that's what it's been for me lately, anyway.
Alternative of that was finding a game I knew nothing about, which was the Justice League game we recently picked up.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, you guys might see on the channel soon. Who knows? But we're definitely going to be tackling X-Men Legends here soon.
Yeah, dude, and like thinking about it the other day too, like when I was playing that Wolfenstein game, I was like, there's something just like nice about turning on the game and playing it, and that's the game.
Remember when games used to be fun?
Right. There's no like, 10 pop-ups of being like, buy the fucking battle pass and grind the shit out of this for fucking 2 months. Otherwise you won't get all the items in it. Like, fuck. Dude, like I have a couple buddies at my work that are like, dude, you should hop on Call of Duty. Let's play some Call of Duty. And I'm like, I'm fucking Call of Duty out, man. Like, and I like Call of Duty. I do. But I'm just like, dude, like, I don't feel like I should be able, like, the way the developers have designed multiplayer games like that these days, I'm just like, dude, fuck this. Like, it caters to the kids that have all the free time, but not the adults at all. Because it's like, if you don't play this fucking game every single day, you're not going to get all these items inside this battle pass that you paid money for, because the season will be over by the time you actually return to the game or have the time to. So then all those items in that season are gone.
You know what I just thought of too is, especially with the battle pass situation, it kind of ticks on the, like, I'm a fan of like stuff like JRPGs or MMORPGs. I don't play them a lot.
Yeah.
But it kind of matches up with that same grind of like an MMORPG where it's like, all right, we're going to be grinding out this armor set today. But now that's in place of a first-person shooter or Fortnite or a fighting game or whatever. Right. It's all about the passes. And I hate it too. Like, I have extreme FOMO, which those of you that don't know is fear of missing out. And it like either you make it easy enough to grind out where like I don't feel like I have to like sit there and only focus on that game, or you extend the season where it's a reasonable amount of time.
It just feels so capitalized.
It is.
It really does. Like, it's like, okay, 1 or 2 games that have that. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, I have the time for maybe 1 or 2 games. Every single fucking multiplayer game has a fucking battle pass, dude, and it has to be complete. Like, dude, I do not have the time for all these games. Like,
no, that's exactly
it's ridiculous.
What it feels
and it's like they're all aware of that. They're just trying to hook, line, and sinker you and just be like, no, come play our game and put 1,000 hours in it. I'm like,
it's a mixed bag.
Fuck,
because
like, it sucks the fun out of a fucking video game.
I can totally understand, because having a battle pass in a game gives you things to do. It gives you, like, it's to a point where you're not just playing the game, because to an extent, like, if there's nothing else for you above and beyond playing the game, you're gonna have a fall off of a player base. And I understand that as a fighting game player, that happens all the time.
Sure.
So, like, the gameplay has to be so good,
right?
Where it just keeps you, which makes you think, how do games like chess, like, there's not exactly a battle pass of chess. The game hasn't evolved.
The game was just born perfect.
I get. Well, actually, that's not true. The original incarnation of chess started with dice, and there was a luck element.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Wait, how did that work?
No fucking clue. You
roll a 7, you move 7 spaces, take out queen immediately. What the fuck? How does
I got nothing,
dude?
But
it's like, doubles, your king's dead.
Snake eyes. Oh man, I'm tired of it though. Like, it gets exhausting to a point. Like I said, I can totally understand giving the player more things to do, which is more reasons to come back to the game. But dude, when every game is like, buy our battle pass, $10, grind it out, it's a fucking, and it is a grind.
It is. Like, I'm not trying to sound like a Debbie Downer or anything, but it's just like, fuck, dude. Like, I want to play these games. Like, Call of Duty's fun when it fucking works, but it's fun. Like, I like Warzone. I think it's really fun. I had a great time on the newest one. Like, it's something I've thought about revisiting because I really do enjoy it. I just don't like all the bullshit that's attached to it. Like, why can't it just be the game? Why can't it be something like a fighting game where it's purely just the mechanics and you just go in and like nothing really has changed about that.
Why is everybody? I'll cut that out.
For fucking. It's a good question though.
Yeah, it's shout out.
A good fucking question.
Shout out
Xiaoping, bro.
Yeah.
Oh shit. No, but like I guess that's the one thing that's like all right with Fortnite. Dude, don't fucking be over there smirking, bro.
Gotta keep it together.
That's the one thing that's like I'm like all right with Fortnite, even though I'm not a big Fortnite guy.
That's
like
fine.
I don't mind it. It's that like all the weapons pretty much in the game are like you find them in the game. You know, Warzone, you can go in with loadouts, so you can get certain builds from the battle pass and then go into Warzone. And then all of a sudden there's a meta to that where it's like, this gun's melting everybody. So this is the build that you want, which can be cool. But once you start putting a battle pass in the mix of that, then it's like, oh, you didn't fucking get the last fucking piece from last season. Well, now you're not going to be caught up with the meta because you actually need that piece on this gun. And you're like, what the fuck? So now I can't essentially keep up like with the combat?
Yeah,
because
that's a little crazy that like a gun, the idea of a gun meta is a bit weird to me. I mean, it's cool in the fact that it exists at all, but
right.
like coming from a Fortnite perspective, I used to play a lot of Fortnite.
Right.
Where it's just like, yeah, you just find the raw gun and
Yeah.
then like the guns change out throughout the seasons.
Yeah, and I just like I would be fine with the gun meta if it was like something that's accessible to everyone. And it didn't require you to like, because the seasons don't last that long. They're like 30 to 60 days, I think, for like a season. And then once that season's over, anything that's in that tier list is I believe you can't get anymore. So I'm like, if they changed it to where it's like there's a new meta, they update it, but it's like all these pieces that are in this new meta gun, like you can get now. Like you don't have to. Because I think the idea of a meta is cool. It lets you play around with guns, and changing the meta is cool because then you can use a different gun and it makes the game a little fresh.
Which is weird. So like the idea of like, hey, we buffed this weapon that exists in real life. Me personally, I have no desire to like go back to COD. If you were just like, oh, hey, do you want to run some duos with me? I might cave. I would cave for you, and that's probably the extent of it.
Yeah, but even like, I don't even know if I want to, like, honestly, I've been enjoying a lot of Sea of Thieves. That's like the multiplayer I've been playing a lot, but it also does the thing that Fortnite does where it's like, yeah, there's like a plunder pass or whatever, but all that does is just buff all your earnings. So if I go get treasure or whatever and like turn it in, since I have the plunder pass, it'll buff that earning. But whoever doesn't have the plunder pass can still achieve the same amount of money. It's just going to take them a little bit longer. It's not that big of a difference. And it's all cosmetic as far as like actual items get, just like Fortnite. So all the weapons and stuff, like nothing has changed in the meta, so to speak. They'll add new weapons every now and then, but it's free for everybody to get. You just go up to the thing or like the crate that you would get weapons out of, and then everybody's got it. So it's accessible.
Yeah.
It's like Fortnite in that way, you know?
Okay, I could fuck with that. I mean, you've asked me to play like, hey, like consider Sea of Thieves. Not really a game that's like up my alley. As
I'm telling you, bro, just play it with me one time.
Okay.
Because I think I could genuinely change your mind, or at least have you look at it from a different perspective. Because what makes that game really fun for me is when everybody locks in on a ship. And you're like, okay, this is the plan. I'm manning the helm. You two are going to be on the starboard and port side. And then whoever is the fourth person will be the wild card. They'll go under the ship and bail the water out if we take shots.
Totally.
And then you start battling another ship. And if everybody's truly locked in, you can fuck people up. Be like, all right, raise sail because we're going to quarter turn. Like, I like the communication aspect of it. And like making sure everyone's got their position and stuff like that. I think it's really cool. Like, it's the same reason why I liked Warzone for the longest time too, is because it's like in the multiplayer, I can just shoot somebody, they're instantly dead. Yeah. In Warzone, you can actually have like a gunfight where it's like, okay, I got a couple shots on him. I'm going to plate up real quick. You push and flank him. Like the tactic,
which is interesting
style
because
it's cool. Like
back, like I would compare the time to kill in Warzone similar to like Halo.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that's the exact reason I didn't like Halo as much as Call of Duty back in the day. But I like Warzone more than I like the multiplayer. This is going to be off topic as fuck, though.
No, go ahead.
So I did want to say thank you guys for the support of the last podcast. I greatly appreciate it, and it means a lot to us because humble beginnings. Our first couple videos barely got less than 10 views and stuff
Yeah, and
like
we
that.
talked about that on the last podcast too. It's still growing and it's crazy, and we're shocked every time we see a video go out and it get a little bit of traction, which is crazy for our channel. We didn't expect that.
There was a couple of people that after the podcast approached us about potentially being on the podcast and like being in future videos and things of that nature. We have some stuff in the works. As far as generally being on the channel, that's not really something we could feasibly do at the moment just because we're recording off of a laptop and all our USB slots are kind of taken at the moment. It's stuff we have in the works, but it'll kind of get there when we get there.
It's hard to do stuff like that too, because we have so much footage. We talked about this on the last podcast too, but I'll just reiterate a little bit. Like, we have so much footage that we have yet to put out. Like, I don't know if some people could tell from some of our videos by some of the things we talk about. Like, some of those videos were literally like 6 months ago.
Yeah, a touch dated.
Yeah, they're a while ago, like a hot minute ago. But like that,
I still have some Halloween footage.
No, that's what I'm saying. They're like, it was a minute ago, dude. That was like, holy shit. That was like 8 months ago, 9 months ago. Holy fuck. So it's just hard to do that because it's like, all right, like we've had to kind of dial back our recording sessions because it's like, dude, we have like at least 10 hours of footage now that we could go through and post. It's just a matter of like, hey, do you want to put up this playthrough or this playthrough? And then we're just like, all right, let's go with that one. And then it goes up. Like, so I think it's just hard to like, I don't know, like involve other people in that because our schedule is so like precise.
We will summon you. We'll light the fires.
Yeah, we'll put a torch on the fucking balcony.
It'll be like, oh, it's time. Gather at dawn. Yeah. And but yeah, it's something that has been on our mind. It's something that we are thinking about. So if you guys were curious to be on in the future, or like you're someone that we know personally, it's something in the works. Like personally, one thing I could put out there is I would like to do a Smash tournament at the house.
Yeah, that'd be
and
cool.
Just have like a barbecue day, have some drinks, and
yeah, dude, or like a Wii Sports or something, or a Mario Party, something like that, where it's like everybody comes through, we have like a bunch of drinks, everyone has fun. Like I'm totally open to shit like that. Make it like a game out of it.
Yeah, so it's something in the chamber, but there are a couple things that need to move and shake before any of that can happen first.
Yeah.
But now I'm gonna ask you some random questions. Speaking of content on the channel,
go for it, dude.
The first random question, somewhat related to the last random question I gave you. Okay, last time I asked, "Fate of the World." You're at a party. What song would you throw on to get people dancing? This time, not "Fate of the World," but if you're in the club right now, you're at an event. There's music going on. What song is gonna come on that's gonna get you dancing?
There's a lot of bangers out there, dude. I'm gonna say "Rock With You," Michael Jackson.
Ooh, I love that song. That's a good
hear
one.
That snare roll.
Oh no!
Doing the robot, everyone just scatters away from me. I'm like,
oh my god.
Yeah, that's a fucking
that's a
good certified hood classic right there, dude.
That's a good ass choice. I can't even hate on that. I'd probably go with "Skipping" by Mario.
Nice.
Okay, now different question, unrelated. I'm gonna bring up 5 games because we have, said this is like a nighttime vibe game. This is like more of a daytime vibe game. I'm gonna bring up 5 games, and you tell me whether it's nighttime or daytime vibes.
Okay.
All right. Spider-Man 1.
Barbie's Dream Horse Adventure.
Nighttime.
What was the fucking first game?
Insomniac Spider-Man 1.
Interesting. I would say a daytime game.
I agree, actually.
I'd say a daytime game.
Barbie's Dream.
Night. No.
Let's go with. I haven't thought of these beforehand. I'm coming up with these on the fly. Let's go with.
Batman's obviously a perfect nighttime one.
Easily. That's too easy.
I feel like all the Resident Evils are perfect nighttime ones.
Let's go with Punch Out.
Weirdly enough, I think those like that era, it works better at night.
I agree.
Like that Nintendo, Super Nintendo vibe. Like,
I can agree with that.
I think some Nintendo games work better in the day. Like Super Mario Sunshine, daytime game. But like Galaxy, I think that's a nighttime game. God of War. Do you think that's a daytime or nighttime game?
Afternoon.
Okay, all right. A little bit in the middle.
I don't know. Let's. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
I feel like that'd be a daytime game.
Okay. So that's 3 we've done so far.
Yeah, yeah. X-Men Legends feels like a nighttime game.
I'll agree to that.
Feels like a nighttime game. You know, funny enough, I remember playing that game at night too when I was a kid.
Army of 2.
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe both? I feel like that could work both. Maybe more night, actually.
Okay.
I think more night, actually.
And then I could pitch so many easy games like BioShock is easily nighttime.
Yeah.
Fucking anything horror is nighttime.
Let me ask you a question. I think I've asked this before, but I wonder if you've thought about it enough more to have like pondered it and like come up with some ideas. Would you want to do anything for the channel outside of gaming in general?
Oh yeah.
What would you want to do?
Dude, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last time, but golf, board games.
Yeah.
I would love to just be like, oh, hey, let's go to the skate park and film.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, visiting game shops. You know, there is one random. I don't know if you'd be for this or not, but like a day in the life. But instead of just following DualShock, like we can do that too. A day in the life of DualShock, but. Hey, this episode is focused on Cody, or this episode is more focused on Brad.
Okay.
And like we just have the opposite person filming.
What would you have in mind? Like what made you think of that? Was there an idea that went along with that?
Just more getting to know the individual person, more about like, hey, like, you know, I'm Cody. You know, I typically spend.
Welcome to my crib.
Exactly.
This is my bed.
I like to spend an hour a day working on music and stuff like that.
That's my underwear. That's just like
that's my other underwear. Yeah. That's my sock. Don't touch that.
I've been looking for that shoe.
Motherfucker. No, but I thought it'd be.
This is where the fuck's my wallet?
I thought it'd be cool because like you know, you guys get a shade of like who we are and the things to do in our like day-to-day life. And we talk about like ourselves and stuff like that, but you know, I would love for people to know more of your music side. I would love for people to know more of like watching you eat frozen burritos. I don't know, dude.
Kill it at that game.
Well, like
the music thing would be cool. I think that'd be cool. I've thought about that more because I've watched a lot of like music content creators lately, at least with like, some of them are like, hey, these are some tips and tricks to get through Ableton. And some of them are like, hey, like, do you like this EDM song a lot? Well, I'm going to show you exactly how it was made. And it's not through Ableton, but it's like showing you step by step, like this is what he did on this synth and this is what he did here. And I actually think that's super fascinating. So I was like, oh, maybe it'd be cool to just be like, once I've got it down a little bit, obviously, to make a video and be like, hey, I'm just going to like make a beat from scratch and bring you guys along for the ride and just kind of stitch it together or something. And then have a song by the end of it and just be like, well, that's how I put it together. And it'd be cool to track that because if I started out with the first song and the like of that series or whatever, and then a year or two later be like, like you could see the progress. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm for that. Like we can do more musically, like focus things and then like I said, like a day in the life would be pretty cool. And then like with skateboarding content, like I don't think it just has to stop at us going to a park, because I think of channels like the Ride channel where they would be like, oh hey, today we're going to be filming X skater from France and he's going to take us around the local scene and show us some spots of like where to go to get food and stuff like that. And just it's like, oh yeah, like
more like a vloggy kind
exactly.
Of thing.
It's like, oh yeah, there's skating in there, absolutely, but it's more about like the town life and like dude, that's fucking sick. That's a lot.
That is cool.
Like I would love to just go like, oh hey, let's go skate downtown.
I was gonna say that would be perfect for like Idlewild.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Like that whole area, just like that whole park that's right by downtown and the river and everything. That would be like a perfect spot for that.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot to pick apart there. There's like hookahs around there. There's a bunch of, I think there's a record store around there still. I could be wrong about that.
Dude, that sounds perfect to me.
There's tons of spots there that you could there's Press Starts not too far from there.
Absolutely.
That's a cool spot to stop at. And
that sounds like we already have a skeleton for a fucking exactly what I'm talking about.
You fucking ride around the skateboard. I'll just get one of those rentable scooters and just film.
I was gonna say like, because
jumping into the river.
It would also like, I like doing camera work. I was never a cameraman per se, but I've done all my like. That's the thing. You talked to me last time about like one of your passions being like
Being
film and
interested in
filmmaking,
filming. Yeah.
and like for me, I rarely trust other people to film for me because you know exactly what I'm talking about, where they don't see the shot in your head.
They don't, or their fucking pinky is sticking out in the camera and you're just, or some shit like
dude,
that.
straight up. And
Or
then
their fucking hands covering the mic or
like I know good filmers, but because you're a good filmer, shooting skateboarding is different than like
Right.
filming for like a movie or like a vlog or something like that.
Right.
One of my favorite filmers that's a YouTuber is Luis Mora, like, and he is an exceptional filmer. He's also a really good skater too, but like
okay.
he focuses on like the Japan scene and like up and coming talent. And, like he doesn't focus on his own talent. He focuses on like,
Yeah.
hey, we're following. I think I don't know if he discovered Yuto Horigome, but he was on that channel.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm just
Okay.
like, dude, that's
He's really good.
yeah, he's fucking
Yeah.
incredible.
That kid's really good.
And you know, like I said, just skating doesn't have to end at the skate park. Like, dude, I
Yeah.
miss the days of when I was a teenager. That was the main way I got around for transportation was just skating around
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, maybe it's the same for you. Like, I skated like 16 miles a day.
I would skate I mean, I grew up in so me and my friends, we'd skate over at their house and they would live by like a gas station. We'd ride our skateboards to the gas station, get a bunch of drinks, come back, skate more.
Exactly.
And like we would just rip apart all of because it was, I mean, that town is a lot bigger now.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
lot more people living there now. Even since I was in high school or even especially when I was a kid, it was not that big. And it was way easier to navigate as a kid.
Oh, I
and it felt
imagine
like a
so.
lot safer too, just because there weren't that many people and everyone kind of knew each other. And to an extent, a lot of the core people that have lived there for a long time still all know each other and there's still that like community there for sure, which I've always liked about a small town like that.
Absolutely.
But as it gets bigger and bigger, the newer residents that live there, they're not part of that. Does that make sense?
I
And
noticed that's been like a shift in like generations too, where like, dude, when you and I were kids, you used to just know all your neighbors. You used to be like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
is Tim home? Like
100%.
let's all meet up at the baseball field.
It's so true. Yeah.
And now I feel like, dude, when I was with my ex, like we didn't talk to our neighbors. I don't talk to our neighbors now.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up because I, when I go to visit my mom and my brothers, or if I'm just stopping by in town for whatever, I like to take like a little drive around. It's literally like a trip around memory lane. I like to do that just to be like, damn, like just to see how much it's changed or just to go down those streets. And I've done it a few times now. Only one time, because I'll drive through a couple neighborhoods that I used to live at, right? Only one time did I actually see like kids outside playing.
Yeah, it's a ghost town. I mean,
Crazy.
look
like
at something
but
like
it didn't make
Halloween.
me think that until I saw it, and I was just like, "Oh, cool!" Like I was going around a corner, and I saw like two kids on their bike, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I started slowing down, and I thought about it, and I was like, because it made me think. I was like, "Oh, I used to do that. Like I used to ride around on my bike and stuff, and hang out with my friends." But then the more I thought about that, I was like, I don't really see that anymore.
No.
Like that's the first time I've seen that, which is crazy because when I was a kid,
That was what you did.
everybody was doing that.
Exactly.
All the kids were outside on their bikes to the point where fucking parents would have a fucking problem with it. They'd be like, "There's too many fucking kids around here."
Bro,
Like, you know,
I mean,
like-
look no further than Halloween. I mean,
Yeah.
like my parents live out in too, and
Yeah.
one of my old houses back when I lived in California, my mom would be like, "Dude, we would go through like 14 bags of candy, and we'd still run out." And now it's like my mom's like, "We're lucky if we get like 20 trick or treaters."
That's insane.
Exactly.
Even at a house, like it makes sense. Like an apartment. Like I remember one year we bought candy when I was living with Troy and Leo in the 3-bedroom. We bought candy and we're like, all right, if there's kids that come through, we'll just give them candy. We didn't get any kids to come through, and we were like, all right, well, it's a apartment complex. I
Totally.
wouldn't go there to trick or treat if I were a kid either. So we didn't think anything of it, and we ate the candy. But that's crazy that like a neighborhood of houses, like I would absolutely expect to
Ask
get
your mom
trick or
this year.
treater. I'll definitely ask. Actually, that's crazy. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that.
I'm like, dog, like I remember on a Halloween when I was a kid, like a sea of kids just
Right.
being out. And I'm like, dude, the neighborhoods were packed. You were running into everybody. Like you were getting in line to go to someone's door pretty much.
That is crazy, dude. Like it was so much different when I was a kid. Like don't get me wrong. I wanted to stay inside and play video games. My parents were like, and I thank them for this. I'm like, my parents were like, you can play video games at night. They're like, you're going to go outside and play.
Damn
like,
straight.
I don't give a fuck how you do it. Like, take your bike out of the garage, take your skateboard, go do something. Go outside and get the fuck out of the house. Like, and in a way, I'm glad they had me do that because I got to basically let my imagination figure out what to do. I'm like, oh, okay, we took like dirt. It's crazy. Like the neighborhood that I used to live at now, all full of houses now. But when I was a kid, a lot of that area was just dirt. Like there were supposed to be houses. The streets were made, but the dirt areas, it was just dirt.
Oh yeah.
So we just
for like baseball fields and stuff.
Yeah. And so what we did is like we carved out like ramps for our bikes to jump. So we had this whole spot full of like jumps that we just jump with our bikes and shit. And all the kids would meet up at that spot. And I remember, I remember being a kid and there was a canal in that neighborhood that was like right at the edge of the, like, you know, the neighborhood's here. The canal runs along the backside of it. And me and my cousin, we took like this we found this like wood plank thing. And we were like, let's just use it as a raft. And we like put it in the canal and we stood on it. And then we were like, it's sinking, it's sinking. And then we like swam back to the shore. And we were like, where'd the fucking raft go? And it just drifted down the fucking, like, it's stupid shit like that. But a memory like that will stick with me forever because it was just us trying to figure out shit to do. Like we built like a tree fort. We put like a plank of wood in a tree and just chilling it. And we'd fish the canal or like jump off of the pipe that would go off the canal and stuff like that. Or we just like figure shit out to do. Like, but you don't see that anymore.
I'll see a TikTok of like a little kid that's like 7 or whatever on his bike. He's like, I put this water bottle in between my tire and the fucking, and it's like, and then in the comments, like, there's hope for this generation. Like,
dude, it's funny you say that. What I used to do is crush a can, put it on my back tire. Yep. I'd be like, I can make this sound like a dirt bike. I'm like, like just
exactly.
Right. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
or like baseball cards. Like you did that show with baseball cards too.
I do a lot of stupid shit when I was a kid too. I'd be like, dude, all right, listen, I got this new kicker. It'd be like a plastic kicker. I'd be like, you lay down in front of it. I'm going to jump over you. Like, dude. And then you look back on it, I'm like, I could have really fucked him up. Like,
yeah, for real. Hey, do you want to lay down outside while I ollie over you?
Yeah, dude. And like, I remember like my buddy laying there being like, I don't know if I want to do this. I'd be like, do not get up. I'm like, he hears me rolling. I'm like, if you get up, you're going to get, you're going to get fucking leveled, dude.
Yeah, bro. Neighborhood games of knockout. Like,
dude, like, it's like what you're saying. Like everyone knew each other. Like in that neighborhood, everybody knew each other. I had this rail. It was a kink rail. It was yellow. And it was like kind of high. You could adjust it, but it was high and you would kink down and go lower. And I got that for like my birthday. And all the neighborhood kids like rode bikes or scooters or skateboarded. So I had that thing in my driveway and I shit you not, I had like 10 kids in my driveway, just like we're all hitting this rail. My dad comes home from work. He's like, what the fuck is going on? How are there so many kids here? I'm like, we're all just hitting this rail. And he's like, all right. He's like, you're going to be in when the sun goes down, right? And I was like, yeah. Because that was always the rule of thumb is like, when you see the street lights, you got to come home kind of thing. But like, I didn't have a phone. Yeah. I didn't have any of that shit. Like the technology I had was a PlayStation 2 in the living room. And I was only allowed to play it at night, like when I came home. Like my parents were like, get the fuck outside, which I'm glad they did because as an adult, that's why I think I pick up golfing. That's why I think I pick up these outdoor activities as an adult to get me out of the house is because being outside is good for you,
man.
Dude.
Yeah,
it's good to get out of indoors.
It is good for the soul. Like you and I will like do shit now. Like it doesn't have to be going to skating, but that was a lot of what we did when we first hung out. But we'll go and like it's like, oh hey, do you want to play tennis today? Hey, do you want like let's just go to the park, bring the baseball gloves, bring baseball, football, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, something about that just feels good for you as a human. Yeah,
I'm glad I played baseball as a kid too. That like kept me outdoors and kept me busy and taught me a lot too, sportsmanship and like playing sports I think is important.
Funnily enough, I didn't play, like I played some sports. Like I played a year of basketball when I was a kid. I played a year of baseball, but I did not play like a ton of sports. I was an active kid for sure, but once again, it was kind of like with neighborhoods and like, it's just like, oh, hey, let's get a clique of us. Let's play like 3-versus-3 soccer.
Right. I mean, I wrestled a little bit in middle school. That was pretty much the only other sport that I did. I tried out for basketball, but I was not fucking good at basketball.
Same.
But I was decent at baseball. I wasn't much of a hitter, but I was a pretty solid outfielder. And so I played baseball like from literally like T-ball all the way up to freshman year of high school. And then after freshman year, I just kind of fell off it. I was more involved in music. I was in a band at that point. I was like, I think I want to focus more on being in a band than playing baseball. But like, I didn't play a fuck ton of sports. I didn't play football. I was a really small kid. Like there was no way in hell I'd play football and survive. I would have gotten crushed. Like,
dude, I shot up like freshman year of high school. I went from like 8th grade being like one of the shorter kids in class.
Yeah.
To next year, I remember this girl I had a crush on. She's like, "What the hell happened to you?" I'm just like, "Hey, how's it going down there?"
I'm 40.
I have a 401k and a pension plan. And yeah, man,
we can get tea.
I was actually telling my mom about this too, because I went to an online high school.
Yeah.
And it was hybrid initially, but it was either my junior or senior year that I went to all online.
Yeah.
And right as I was doing that, right before they had brought gym back, they didn't have gym at my school. They're just like, "Oh, hey, just do your work, whatever." And then, but I was pretty active at the time. Like I was, self-teaching in boxing. I was getting pretty good. And then, but I was still pretty active. I was skating around town. I was riding my bike. I'd go over to friends, biking, skating 16 miles, like whenever.
Yeah.
And, so when they were like, "Oh, hey, gym is back. We're going to have a gym now." They were just like, the first thing they did was like, "Oh, hey, here's the field. Like run a lap or two around." And I'll never forget this because I fucking dusted everybody. It was
really?
It was not even close.
Damn.
And
the fitness pacer test.
the teacher was like, "Yeah, Brad, like get that
Holy
shit."
shit, just hyping you up.
Yeah, he was
finger and all.
He was gassing me up. And then I had a realization. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I trying so hard? Yeah. So I stopped running and started walking, and then people started passing me up or whatever. And he's like, "What are you doing?"
Like it's the scene from SpongeBob. It's a race, Gary, a race.
Pretty much, dude. It was. I'll never forget that. That shit was so funny, man. But I was just like, why am I trying so hard right now?
Bro, that guy was typing you up. You were like, all right.
Because I'm a fast runner.
It's a fucking world championship right now. We gotta fucking get this shit.
Oh my god, bro. That was godlike. That was actually really funny. That was one of the funnier moments I remember at school. But
yeah,
I didn't play sports in high school. It was all like my own personal physical education.
Yeah. Like I said, I played baseball for that first year. I had a good time. It was fun, but I was just way more involved with music. And now that I'm thinking about it, it makes sense why. Because like I was in a guitar class and like I taught guitar in that class. There was this girl in that class I was crushing on hard. She was a great singer. She probably still is a great singer. But I was like, I'm gonna try and figure. I was like, oh, you like that song? I'm gonna try and learn that song and then try to fucking duet.
You
and sing
dog.
with her. Yeah, like so I got really into music like that, dude. Oh my god, I think I've told you this story. Like one time, is this gonna be too much to reveal on a fucking podcast? I don't know. All right, I'm not gonna say her name.
If it is, I'll cut out whatever you want me to cut out.
One time,
you can put a fake name too. Call her Jessica.
You will call her Jessica. Perfect. All right. So, I was like texting Jessica and like we were like flirting and like talking stuff like that. And I was like, "You want to come over to my house?" Like Netflix.
Sorry, I'm talking to Drake right now.
Fuck, dude. Holy shit. Maybe. Fuck. No, but I was like, it was like a Netflix and chill kind of thing. And I was like, "Hey, you want to come over to the house?" So she fucking comes over to the house. I can't. And like, I'm at the house first, right? And she's like, "All right, I'll come over. Like my mom's going to drop me off or whatever." She's like, "Do you think you can give me a ride back?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." I was 15. I've told you this story, right? Did not have my license or anything like that. My dad had a Dodge Charger, 2013, nice car. It was a 2013, so it was brand new at the time. And she comes over. Answer the door. This might be too much. Oh, fuck it. No, fuck it. Fuck it. You think it's funny. I fucking answered the door, and then my dad like walks around the corner, just fucking underwear only. I swear to God, dude. And my dad's just like, "What are you doing?" Walks around the corner. I'm like, "Dad, this is Jessica." And my dad's like, oh, and like fucking folds back and goes in the fucking room. And she's like, hi, nice to meet you. And I'm like, look at my dad like,
What the fuck, man?
what the fuck, man? You can't. And then like she comes in my room, we're like hanging out, right? And then she's like, all right, well, I gotta go home. And I was like, okay. And I get in the Charger, and like my dad's asleep, and I totally am not supposed to. I take the keys and I give her a ride home. I drive her to her place. I was like, this is the second time I've ever driven ever. And I drove her to the house, and I came back. My dad's standing there. It's like fucking, and he's like, you ever do that shit again, I'll fucking kill you. He's like, that car is insanely expensive.
Oh my God. That's,
fuck, I'll never forget that, dude, because it was just like,
I don't think she
the
will either.
stupid shit you would do
oh yeah, dude.
for a fucking girl, dude, where I was like, if I got pulled over, bro, like no permit, no license, like
Similar,
or worse, if I wrecked the car, but like, what the fuck was I thinking, bro? Like, that's so stupid.
similar-ish story, not for a girl, but my homie actually. So I remember, I don't remember how old I was. I think I had my permit maybe. But my homie Vince, shout out Vince, he was like, sometimes my mom would give him a ride home from school. Sometimes he'd take the bus, whatever. And Vince texted me, is like, oh, hey, I'm not feeling well. Or like, I just kind of, he probably just didn't want to be there. He's like, oh, hey, can your mom give me a ride? I'm like,
Yeah.
actually, she's at work right now. And my dad was out of town at the time. And my mom said to me, is like, don't touch the fucking car unless you like need to be somewhere.
Right.
I'm just like, this qualifies. So I was just like, don't worry, bro. I got you. Like,
This is a need.
don't even sweat, dog. And I took his Ford F-150. I want to say it was a 2016. I hate driving trucks, by the way. Hate it.
Okay.
And I don't think my mom was home. I think she just asked me. It's like, how did Vince get here? I'm like, oh, I drove him. She's like, she just like dead eyes me, and she just walks away. I'm just like, hey man, like, what can you really do? Not as crazy as yours, but
Damn.
I definitely didn't have my license at the time. I definitely ran a red light.
Dude, I just feel like all that stuff, I'm sure high schoolers still do stupid shit like that,
Oh,
but it
sure.
kind of just ties back to the thing of like, that's just shit you did when you were younger.
Absolutely.
you
I'm
know?
trying to impress this girl right now, dog.
And for real. And like, I just feel like today it's just, maybe it is like that in high school, but I definitely at least don't see kids being like adventurous or doing stupid shit, like fucking being like, I wonder if this wood will float in the river. Like,
Something I've thought about
possibly
too.
drown or some shit. Like, fuck, man. I was like 10.
Something I thought about too was like reading, and how reading is the last platform probably where you have to use your imagination as entertainment.
To kind of like put the pieces together,
Exactly.
like visualize it. Yeah.
I think being imaginative, I think there's a difference between being imaginative and being creative, because I think it's potentially this generation could be more creative than we were, but I think with all the technology and the surplus of that, I think they're less imaginative. I think there's too much in front of them.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I think imagination is something that's really important when it comes to creation, because like I told you, like the way that sometimes like when I like write a song, it'll come to me before I actually even touch an instrument. Meaning I legitimately imagine the song in my head. Like I can hear it in my head, and then I go like, holy shit, like I need to grab the instrument and figure it out now. And like, I just feel like they kind of go hand in hand, because if you can visualize, so to speak, an entire thing in your head, then the creative aspect is just bringing it to life at
Absolutely.
that point, but it just spurs from the imagination. And I do kind of wonder, like, if that's going to be a problem for these next generation of kids that don't really tap into their imagination because they're so glued to their fucking phone or so glued to their fucking iPad or something that they don't allow their brain to come up with their own entertainment. So it's hard for them to carry that into their adult life and be creative. You get? I know I sound like a fucking old man saying kids are not the same anymore, but I really do think that's a huge dramatic change in generations. Like,
well, like on the point of like something like inclusivity, like more and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but we've talked about it before, where there's a more easy access to, like, kids and teens are getting their hands on DAWs, where like, back in the day, like you had to be in a studio to make anything musically.
True. Yeah, like
so
the accessibility.
I don't know.
Yeah, the accessibility is increased significantly, but has the creativity increased with as time has progressed through generations? That's the real question. Like, I could be dead wrong. Maybe kids are more imaginative and creative because they have these devices that we didn't have as kids. Who fucking knows? I don't know. It just, I don't really see it being that way. Just because when you didn't have this shit and you had to go outside and figure out something to do, it was like fending yourself from the wolves pretty much. You have to figure out what the fuck you want to do as a kid. It's not obviously that dramatic, but it's just like you have to kind of force your brain to fucking be working like that, you know? If you have everything kind of working, doing that for you, then how do you get the cogs turning in your brain to do it yourself, you know? And I kind of do worry about that with the next generation coming up.
So like with that too, like every little kid, it feels like they want to be a content creator, which I get it. There's so much of that around. I get a little bit of the nerd in me where it's like, I wanted to be a content creator before it was cool. I care that much.
A little hipster in you.
A touch.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with comic books and like, God, with comic books, it was crazy. That was one of the biggest piss offs and I'm sure it was the same for you too, because you liked Spider-Man as a kid, you liked X-Men as a kid,
yeah, and then all these definitely got teased for it as a kid, yeah,
exactly. All these Marvel movies come out,
yeah,
and now it's the thing and the place to be. It's like, oh, hey, we're getting
really
a click of us.
It really is cool to be a nerd now, which was not the case in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Like even Star Wars was like, you were a fucking dork if you liked Star Wars.
But
like,
now it's a gathering with friends. Like they're dropping new Star Wars movies.
Right, let's all go to the theater.
Exactly.
Right, yeah, it's way different now.
So on that, like I didn't bring up content creation because of that point, but it's just something I think about. I was curious as to how the content that you ingest has changed over the years, because I think about like my YouTube feed specifically,
right,
and like how like the different things that I've watched throughout the years. Like I remember watching a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh content. I remember watching like arcade content of people going to arcades and winning prizes, and God, I even watched Minecraft, not because I liked Minecraft, but because the content creators I watched at the time, everyone was obsessed with Minecraft. Like how has that changed for you?
What do you mean? Like explain.
Like over the years, like okay, when I was back in 2009, I was watching this content creator, and they mostly posted Let's Play stuff. And then I kind of stopped watching.
Like how has content in general changed over the years?
Especially the stuff that you've absorbed personally.
Oh, like what am I watching now compared to what I was watching then? The thing I've noticed significantly that's changed the most between the two is that I feel like it's more hammy now than it was then.
Oh yeah, it's so much more authentic.
Some YouTubers were definitely hammy. Don't get me wrong, in the early days of YouTube, but I just feel like there was a lot more just like the rogue video that would just go viral of literally someone with just like a fucking Nokia recording some stupid shit, like getting hit in the head with a tire or some shit. Like there was a lot more of that. I think you'll get videos like that, but they end up on more like TikTok, or they end up more in like Reddit or something.
Absolutely.
I just think going back, kind of circling back to like the kids wanting to be content creators, they're also watching these streamers now that are real hammy. And we can see through that bullshit. And the reason why I think we can see through it is because we were there when the book was written. when fucking YouTube and Twitch and all that first, took off.
I want to say it's 2007, right?
Yeah, it was a lot more awkwardness going on with streaming. Now it's a lot more professional. It's like fine-tuned now. All the social media platforms are fine-tuned. But back when they first came out, it was the wild, wild west on the internet. Everyone was trying to figure out how the fuck to make money off it.
Yeah, super like raw.
So you're going to see a lot of these kids doing the cringy ass, just like, what's up, guys? Like, comment, and subscribe to my show. We tease it all the fucking time, like on this channel, like you're going to see a lot more of that, which for me personally, I like more shit where it's just like, fuck the hamminess, whatever. If you like the content, yeah, sure, subscribe. But like, I'm not going to fucking ham it up. Like, I'm not going to be like, today's video, we got a banger, bro. Like fucking.
So like, I think there's room for that. And I think that's totally okay. I agree that it's the way that content has shifted. Yeah. But like looking back, some of my favorite content to ingest back then was like Machinima, and how ahead of the curve they were at the time, because they pitched it more of like, it was kind of like G4 just on YouTube.
Oh, dude, G4, what a fucking call.
Fucking and
Callback.
yeah, I mean Machinima was a juggernaut at the time when they were
Yeah.
popping. Like they had a hard fall off, but dude,
Yeah.
I remember like so many hours of watching CNNers videos. Hutch,
Same.
Mr. Sark,
Same.
APL, Captain Sparkles. You know,
Sure.
people of that nature.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing either. Like, it's not a huge, like, there's content creators I watch that do that kind of hammy stuff. Like, it is one of those things where it's like, if you're not going with the flow or changing with the times, you're going to be left behind kind of thing. But I do like, once you kind of get rid of the initialness of being like, okay, let me go ahead and like, welcome to my channel, subscribe. Like, once you get past all that bullshit, and I hate doing shit like that. I feel like I'm being fake. But once you get past that, and it just becomes what the channel actually is, that's where I feel like I just let all that shit go out the door. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, I feel like the most entertaining people that I watch today, as compared to when it first came out, are the people that are just being truly themselves and like are the same person they are on camera as off. Because then you feel more engaged with that content creator. You know what I mean?
No, totally.
Like you feel like you like in a way actually know them. Like if you saw them in person, that's how they would be. Like that's the kind of shit that I like. But then there's some streamers where I've heard terrible stories where it's like he's a fucking asshole in real life. Like I've gone to this TwitchCon convention and I met him and he was a fucking dick and was like rude to his fans and like that's the last thing I want to be. Like if this channel ever blew up or anything like that, that's the last thing I'd want to be.
Oh yeah,
I want people to be like, he's exactly how he is on camera as in person. Nicest dude on the fucking planet. I had a great time, you know.
I'm gonna keep it a stack, y'all. I'm like socially awkward when it comes to like big, like if it's just like one person coming up to me, it's like, oh hey, like I don't know if this would happen. It's like, oh hey, I'm a fan of the channel. Be like, yo, thank you so much. Like, do you want a drink? Like,
yeah.
And like if you're a chill fan, like that's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's when like, you know, I could understand to a point, like let's talk about like the upper echelon of fame. Let's talk about like movie actors and, you know, people of that nature, when everything that they do is so surrounded by the paparazzi. If for some reason we ever got to that point, I could totally understand being like, you know.
That's why I admire people so much, like Trent Reznor and Maynard James Keenan and all these huge frontmen of bands, is because you never hear shit about them off stage because they're so mega big and mega popular, right? These musicians and artists, that I feel like that's how I would be. If I ever achieved fame like that, I'd be like, no, get the fucking cameras away from me. I want a private life. Like,
absolutely.
I would literally buy a house in the middle of nowhere and be like, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah. It's
not that I would be rude to fans.
No.
Like, I want to separate the two. Like, if I saw a fan and they were like, hey, if I was in their position, like, I love what you do, like, you know, keep on doing what you're doing, you know, like, I would totally be cool with them. But in general, like, I don't know how actors do it, where it's like, bros walking down to get a coffee and be like, so we heard we're TMZ, we're here to fucking.
Yeah, bro.
I would be Tobey Maguire and be like, I can't say.
I was thinking that same thing.
Like, I would be Tobey Maguire being like, get the fuck away from me, dude. Like,
which is so interesting, like in Tobey's case, because I love the Spider-Man films. I love that he came back for that, and he's acted in other stuff too. But yeah, Spider-Man is what Tobey is known for, at least for me and a lot of other people.
Yeah.
It's so funny that films from that time still have him have the attention that he has to this day. Like you know, he's in stuff like The Great Gatsby is the first thing that comes to my mind.
Well, you got to remember Spider-Man, the first one in 2002, that I want to say broke the record for like the most successful box office film at the time.
But he's still bombarded to this day.
Right, but like the popularity of those films, like we're talking massive money. Like those movies made a lot of fucking money. So I mean, yeah, like it made Spider-Man essentially a household name at that time. Because you got to remember, especially at that time, superheroes were still like a niche thing. Like it was just like superheroes were cartoons on TV or the comic books. You did have like your X-Men, I think, came out around that time or maybe right before Spider-Man, and you did have like the Michael Keaton Batman in the 90s.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was still pretty niche.
Obscure.
Yeah. It wasn't that big until Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. So that really kind of changed things. So
yeah, even a film I love as much as like X-Men, X1 and X2.
Yeah.
Like those were still not to that level. Really good films.
Those were like one of those ones where it's like they had a slow start out the gate, but they gradually gained speed. And then over the years, the X-Men and like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine became iconic.
Absolutely.
Wasn't iconic out the gate though. Like,
Hugh Jackman more so superseded that movie than anyone or anything else did, because like for me, X-Men was still like, it was in between. It wasn't Spider-Man, but it was like maybe halfway there.
Yeah.
But Hugh Jackman just totally like, he just fit the role so well as far as Wolverine that like he soared above and beyond. And
he's just in general a great actor. I mean,
Absolutely.
that guy's one of the few where his career outside of Wolverine flourished.
Absolutely.
He had multiple films that I like that have nothing to do with Wolverine, even though I would probably say that's his most iconic role for sure.
Easily.
But you also got to remember, you had fucking Patrick Stewart. You had fucking is it Ian McKellen?
Yep.
As fucking Magneto and Professor X.
I remember, I forget what we were doing, but I remember mixing the names of Patrick Stewart and
Ian Stewart
and Neil Patrick Harris. So I said Neil Patrick Stewart or something like that.
Neil Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. So I don't remember what that was from, but I think that was on the channel somewhere. It's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Shout out Xiaoping.
Shout out to Xiao. But that kind of fame.
Yeah.
That kind of fame that Toby got and still gets, like, would you want to be that famous? I don't know if I would want to be that famous. Like anybody that's that famous, where it's like, okay, like the thing that sucks now about the age of the internet, which I'm sure actors fucking hate this, is that to promote a film, it's not like when you were a kid, you'd see the commercial, like the trailer for it on TV. Now promotion, it's not really the trailer. It's more like the actors going around and doing interviews or podcasts or whatever, and being like, oh, like, thanks for having me on this interview show. Go see Spider-Man this summer or whatever. Like, or they'll go on like Jimmy Fallon or something and to promote the film. And for me, I would hate that. Because they're like, okay, the movie's going to be out in 5 months. Cody, we're going to need you to do some promo. So you're going to do about 20 interviews. I'd be like, I'd be sick after the third one. I'd be like, I am tired of the same fucking questions. I'd be like Dana White, dude. You seen that Dana White thing where he fucking goes to Howie Mandel's podcast and he's like, Dana, thank you so much for being here. Like, I can't thank you enough for being here. And Dana sits down literally for 5 seconds. He's like, I'm tired of doing podcasts.
Wow, I did not see that.
Yeah, he was like, I am sick and I'm tired of doing podcasts. And just dead ass gets up and leaves. And Howie's just like staring at him. And he just gets up and leaves in like literally fucking 5 minutes.
Wow, I mean, listen, I understand it, but I'm also like,
I don't know if I do that, but I'm just saying I kind of felt that in a way. Like,
I am not okay with it, because like for something like a podcast, like if you were to get the actor from whatever movie that would come out, like let's say the fucking new Superman movie's coming out and they get the actor on a podcast,
right?
That's okay by me, as long as it's not like, oh, hey, you're here to promote the film. It's like, no, we're just here to talk to you and remind the world that you're a person. That's totally cool. But if it's like, oh, hey, we're contractually obligated to talk about the movie, and like that's when you lose me.
But I think that's what it is.
It is what it is.
Because you'll see like 10, 15, 20 videos on YouTube all of a sudden of Hayden Christensen out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you're like, why is Hayden Christensen on the like, let's Google myself type video? Or
shout out to Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, shout out to that guy, because he's one of those actors where after Star Wars came out, he was like, I need to step away from the limelight. Like, I totally get it. When you play that iconic of a role, dude, you're literally Darth Vader, arguably the greatest cinematic villain of all time. And you're getting love and you're getting a lot of hate and a lot of like millions of people, right? He stepped away from all that shit. He stepped away from acting. He's like, I'm going to go live on a farm and raise my family. And I'm like,
the thing I remember him coming back for was Jumper.
Yeah, that was it.
Was that literally it?
Pretty much. And then he literally retired. But then, he came back to play Anakin again and Vader and stuff like that. And he did all those promos. And I'm sure he did like doing it a little bit to like let fans know a little bit more about him. But I don't know. I feel like if I were him, I would be annoyed with it after a while, because you're like, I don't know, maybe I don't want to put words in the guy's mouth. I fucking love Hayden Christensen. He's awesome. But it did come off to me like seeing like 10, 15 videos of him where I'm like, all right, he's doing promo for something. I don't know what it is. It's got to be a new Star Wars thing, or he's trying to promo a show or something.
Yeah.
You know? And that sucks. If he wanted to do it, that's one thing. Like, if I wanted to do it, I'd be like, yeah, I'll fucking... If someone was like, hey, would you like to come onto our show and do this thing? I would be more open to doing that. I'd be like, yeah, let people know a little bit more about me. And like, sure. But if it's a thing like, right, no, you have to do 10, 15 of these.
Fuck
and like,
that,
that's
dog.
what it feels like a lot of these actors have to do. And I'd be like, fuck me, dude. Like, I'd be so over that. Like, I would not want to do that at all.
What would be something for sure that someone could get you on a show for? Would it be more music? Would it be more movie? Would it be like oh, hey, come have a podcast, but we're gonna go golf?
I like the idea of doing podcasts. I wouldn't want to do like a talk show
Yeah.
where it's like just Jimmy Fallon like every 5 fucking minutes when you just go like, yeah, I sneezed the other day. It's like,
You know
and
what?
slaps the fucking table and then the audience laughs and you're like, this isn't funny. What the fuck?
For some reason, you made me. You remember that '70s show? You made me think of Kitty. Oh, Bob! Or was it the fucking red?
Red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Great show. Shout out to the fucking That 70
I
show.
love that '70s show. One of my.
The fucking banger. No, that's how fucking shows like I'm mocking it a little bit. I'm not fuck. I know I'm an asshole. I know, but I just that shit
good.
comes off so fake to me, dude. Like
That
I'm
was
just like,
good.
I wouldn't want to be on something like that because then it feels like a show. It feels fake, you know. Not that those shows don't have like funny moments. Like I like Conan. Like I like old Conan stuff. Like I liked that stuff. You know,
I
There's
didn't really
some-
follow.
I watch some talk show stuff here and there, like if like a band's performing on it or something. Like I like watching shit like that, or if it is a celebrity that I like or admire, I'll watch that. But a lot of the time, it just does feel hammy. I think that's why podcasts have gotten so popular. That's why Conan stopped doing talk shows and made a podcast.
A bit more interpersonal.
Exactly. It's like legitimate. It's a real conversation. There is no fucking, guy holding the cards being like, everybody
laugh now. Yeah.
Like, so I would be more open to doing, I think podcasts, I'd be like way more, especially if it was music related, where it's like, oh, let's just have a podcast talking about music. I'd be like, dude, I could talk about that for fucking 6 hours. Well, what about you? If the roles were reversed, and what would you be okay with?
I don't think I'm interesting enough as a person to be on a podcast. Remember, like and subscribe.
No, for real. Like if say something you wrote, like a manga or something, or like what you're saying.
Okay.
So like if you did something that brought like skyrocketed your fame or whatever, something that you created, what would you be willing to do to promote said thing? Whether it turned into an anime or turned into whatever it is, you have to promote it, right?
I think that would be like fine. So if like there was a genuine curiosity about something I created, I think that'd be more than cool. I think apart from that, I think the best thing you could get me on would be like film. Would be like, it's like, oh, hey, like we're just having like a film analysis podcast. We'd love to have you on. I'd be like, yeah. It's like, we're talking about the Matrix. Can I have my boy come with me?
Yeah, dude. Like, get me on a podcast where we don't talk about me at all. Like, it's
Pretty
like, dude,
much.
like, hey, we love you. Would you like to come on this podcast and talk about this band? I'd be like, dude, I would love to talk about that band for 3 hours, or
I think people overthink how interesting they are as people. I think there's plenty of fascinating people. I think the things that people do are fascinating, but it's very rare that someone as an entirety is interesting enough to exclusively talk about. I think interviews are fine, but a whole podcast.
But that's what I'm saying, like doubling back, like doing 10 to 15 interviews where it's the same questions. Like I would
that'd
get
be
bored
brutal.
of like, all right, I'm done fucking talking about me. Like,
I mean, you could
for
imagine,
fuck's sake,
as
like,
a Star Wars fan, like George Lucas, man.
yeah.
It's like, who's your favorite character?
Dude, that's why that motherfucker was like, all right, I'm going in retirement. Like that guy was like, fuck all you. Like he's be like, so Leia space buns. How would you say those were created? And he's like, brother.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
Dude, yeah, like I don't think George wants to talk about like that kind of shit, when it comes to Star Wars. It's the price you pay when you make something that big and that massive and with that much lore. But
which is fascinating too, because like
I would be that fan that'd be like, listen, Mace Windu's purple lightsaber. Can we talk about that for a moment?
after he sold it off to Disney, like you thought that'd be the end of it. But I think now he's getting a little bit of that young man fire where he sees the thing that he thinks he's lost his love for, but like there's enough of being pissed off because he still loves that IP that much.
You got to remember too, though, a lot of people forget this, that when I was a kid, it was not really cool to like Star Wars.
Fuck no.
So people bagged on the prequels pretty hard. They didn't like them. They were like, they're nothing like the originals. And that was, quite frankly, like my dad's generation, like Gen X. They didn't like the prequels. They were like, this is shit. Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, masterpiece. What the fuck am I watching? They were like that, which is basically what I am to the sequels now. So Star Wars has this really bad toxic thing going on within it. And I try to separate the mass, like what everyone's saying, and try to go in with like a clear mindset and be like, all right, I'll give this thing an honest try. Like, but you gotta, the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like part of the reason why he sold it is because George was getting so much hate for those prequels for a long time. A long time. So when he sold it, he was like, all right, they say I destroyed my fucking product, which I think is bullshit. The guy created it, so I think he shouldn't have gotten that much hate to begin with. It's his product. But he sold it, and now what's happening now is that everyone's seeing how bad the Disney Star Wars stuff is, because it is, man. Dude. I'm not trying to be biased. I just brought up the fact that my dad's generation hated the prequels, and they have good reasoning for not liking those. However, I do think there's a lot of good shit to mine from the prequels. I do. Like, is there cheesiness in it? Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of cheese in Star Wars, but that's half the fun of it. However, the core story of the prequels, I know this is going to be a 2-hour podcast about Star Wars. Sorry, everybody. But the core thing about the prequels is that I think the base story is solid. The rise and fall of Anakin is really good. I like that a lot. And I think Revenge of the Sith is honestly climbed over the years to be my favorite Star Wars movie. So it used to be Empire and Return, and I still think those are great films. But I think Revenge of the Sith is my favorite right now. But the reason why I think he's kind of getting that spark, like you were saying, is because you're seeing a lot of fans now like watch the shit that's being churned out, like this Acolyte show. I swear to God, I'm not even going to go there. Like this fucking Acolyte show, and they're like, please God, let George make Star Wars again. Like, this is horrible. Like,
so you said how like you're just like, oh, I might be biased. I don't think that's the case, because like we're having a bit of a reverse of like Dragon Ball Z to Star Wars, where like, I would have been the biased Dragon Ball fan, but in my shoes, I'm just like, no, dude, the Star Wars stuff that's coming out is absolute shit, bro. Like I'm not like a Star Wars mega fan, and I like when I was playing Jedi Fallen Order, when I was recording, I was like, I'm not like a Star Wars nerd or anything like that. I don't have the biases that super fans do, but like I can recognize that this is like quality stuff that's being made versus like now.
But here's the thing: is like I am a mega Star Wars fan, but there is stuff I can nitpick about it. Right, where it's like, okay, well, and I brought it up to you where I'm like, Rey shouldn't have been able to use the Jedi mind trick there or whatever. Like, if we're getting real nerdy about Star Wars, but even that small stuff that would be like real bothersome to like a heavy lore guy like me, I can let that shit slide as long as the core story's good. That's what I tell like just the average Star Wars moviegoer or whatever. They're like, yeah, I like Star Wars, like I like the movies, and why I tell them why I think the new ones are bad is because I'm like, Star Wars at its heart is about this. Right? Like the father-son thing with Anakin and Luke. That's what it's about. That's what the Skywalkers is what it's about. Where the fuck is that there's no fucking actual meat to this story. Like, take all the lore shit out of it. Take all the fucking nerdy sci-fi fucking blaster, whatever. However you want to view whatever. Take all that shit out of it. There is no fucking core story to those movies. That's why they're fundamentally bad. Like, has nothing to do with the fact that she's a fucking girl, has nothing to fucking do with any of that shit. It has everything to do with that she's poorly written. Like, just plain and simple.
But you said to me now too, where it's just like, hey, can we get away from the Skywalker stuff? Like, not everything has to be steeped in Skywalker.
No, it doesn't.
I'm a little jealous because I wish I felt as passionate about those movies as you do. Like, I watching 1 through 6 again didn't turn me into a mega fan. It kind of stayed exactly where it was, and I figured it would. It wasn't about that like stuff was ruined for me. Like, yes, the 1 through 6 is like steeped in pop culture, but you know, I watched those movies when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was hoping I would just get a little bit more love for them, like watching them again. What was it that we watched? Rogue One was pretty decent.
Yeah, that was good. I like that one.
I had a good time watching it, but yeah, like
There's moments.
there's moments in 7 and 8. We haven't watched 9 yet. I don't know if we will at this rate.
Dude,
Who
yeah,
knows?
we'll eventually get around to it. But you know, just to prove that I'm like not just following like, you know, the masses here and being a sheep to the Star Wars fan base. A lot of Star Wars fans didn't like the Obi-Wan show. I didn't mind it. I thought it was good, actually. I thought the Anakin Obi-Wan stuff was good. I really enjoyed that stuff. So I'm not just shitting on Disney because it's Disney. I just want good stuff.
Stuff I'm like very passionate about is a lot of superhero media, and especially like I'm super nostalgic for things like Batman the animated series, X-Men the animated series, which I wanted to rewatch, and I think I'm gonna do that today. I think I'm gonna tackle a couple of episodes of X-Men the animated series today. Spider-Man the animated series, now a bit more STAS, Superman the animated series. And Justice League was a really big one, and you and I have been revisiting Justice League, and dude, like, though as far as media is concerned, like the media that kids are exposed to, even as far as like programming, is so dramatically different, where media today is pushing an agenda, whereas media back when I was a kid was like, dude, in Justice League and Static Shock, bro, the moral quandaries and things that were morally ambiguous that they had to tackle within each episode was like, is this made for a kid, really?
Dude, yeah, for real. And like there's some subjects that are tackled, I'll say, in Justice League 2 that you're like, I don't feel like that would be a plot for an episode today.
Fuck no.
People would be like, we are steering clear of a subject like that, even though it may be morally correct. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just feel like it is very much a political agenda thing that's going on, especially with Disney, that drives me up the fucking wall. And it's not like I'm biased one way or the other. If it were political agenda for the other side, I'd be pretty much saying the same thing. I think if you force an agenda or an idea onto your audience, regardless of what side it is on politics, that's bullshit. Because that should be up to the viewers, you know, perspective of whether or not they want to believe that or not. Don't force it into your stories, though. You can write good stories without having any of that bullshit in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, more to the point of like things I watched as a kid, like, you know, we've talked about this a number of times, but you know, you've somewhat recently become a Dragon Ball fan.
Yeah.
I watched Dragon Ball when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And like, bro, should I watch that as a kid? I don't think there's anything wrong with watching it as a kid, but I'm just like,
dude, I'd have my kids watch it.
Some of the themes there and some of the things that they're talking about, bro, some of the off one lines are like, dude, like the time that you had between like Goku and Gohan when they're in like the hyperbolic time chamber, Piccolo's off one lines of like about race is like, oh dude, it has nothing to do with the color of my skin. It's like,
yeah, dude, but that's what I think about.
Holy fuck.
Right. That's why I think like watching it now, Dragon Ball Z specifically, like I enjoyed it so much, is because it's so much deeper than it appears. There's so much more going on with its characters and its storytelling than it appears. And that shit you can carry into adult life. But that's how I feel about like Star Wars too. I feel like there's so much more going on here than it appears. Like if you just walked in the room and just saw the laser swords, you wouldn't think really anything of it unless you sat down and really watched it and really tried to figure out what George is trying to say, what Akira is trying to say. You know, even Lord of the Rings, I would put in the same boat. Is like, there's a deeper thing going on here.
Than elves and...
Right, than just like the battle and shit like that. There's something going on here. Like even Lord of the Rings, like I love Lord of the Rings, but like, think about it, like the elves and the dwarves don't get along. I mean, you could tie that back to racial differences too. And then at the end of the film, they're like, I'm just glad I'm fighting alongside a friend. Like, dude, what?
Episode 2, we're canceled.
Dude, but like, it's like themes like that like I think are good for children.
Absolutely.
Because they're moral, they like help guide your moral compass into adulthood. I think that's why I care so much about Star Wars though, because Star Wars really was like the flagship of all of those to come. Think about it. Star Wars started in 1977, dude.
It has me have a problem more with like kids having so readily available content, because it makes, like, you know, there's the joke about like iPad kids and like their attention span being so small.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, would I be, if let's say I had an iPad kid, would I be able to get my kid to sit through Lord of the Rings? Probably not, because their attention span is on 3 different things at once.
Good point. That's a good point.
Where it's like, yeah, they're so valuable, but you're probably not going to realize this till you're 20.
Right. That's very true. That's a good point, man. But like the Star Wars thing, like, you know, those are films that my dad watched as a kid, dude. Like, now I think Dragon Ball is also close to being that, because it's been around pretty much almost as long as Star Wars, right? So you're starting to see dads that watched it as a kid have their kids watch it. That's where you know something stands the test of time, is if it is something worthy of passing down to the next generation. Right? I think Lord of the Rings is in that conversation. I think a lot of people are going to put Harry Potter in that conversation too. Like, there's a lot of these mega like franchises that mean a lot to people when they were kids, that they want to pass that down to their children. I think that's why I care so much about Star Wars, is because I want the legacy of it to be good for my children. You get it? Like, I don't want to, I want Star Wars to be good, not only for me, but I want the new stuff for my kids eventually to watch it and like it, you know? It sucks that I'm going to be like, when my kids watch Star Wars, it's 1 through 6, the others don't exist. Bars.
Yeah, it's true. So like, I've heard some stuff about people starting Dragon Ball with Dragon Ball Super. I'm like, how?
Yeah,
like,
I heard that too. I thought that was kind of wild too.
With Super, like, Super's not bad. There's no way in hell I love it anywhere near as much as Z. Super to me is like the iPad kids Dragon Ball, where it's like, it's about the hype. It's about like the crazy beam struggles, which it was about that too in Dragon Ball Z, but like, you know, there was all the subtext and like there was like the philosophy of life. I'll never forget till the day I die, you know, Goku saying it's not all about training, you know, rest is equally as important, but it's like, okay, is it just now so much about the spectacle in Dragon Ball Z for these kids? Like, will they find value out of going back to watch Z, or are they going to be even able to make it that far?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, like, you know, the new school anime fans, like,
yeah,
new school anime is so different. I think some new school anime is totally cool. I think, like, I would love to give like something like Blue Lock a try, which, if you guys don't know, is like a soccer anime.
I have no, I am not an anime guy, dude. Like, but that just goes to show the reach of Dragon Ball. Just saying. Like,
it's exponential, and it's cool to see, you know, things like Dragon Ball and stuff, and like superheroes and stuff like that supersede the things that they're tied to. Like, Dragon Ball Z supersedes anime as a whole, and has become such a massive IP. And you probably feel the same way about Star Wars. Yeah,
like, you know, people would look at something like Star Wars as like your typical like sci-fi nerdy thing, but it really does supersede all of those type of, you know, stories around it. Star Wars is on a pedestal now, above all that.
It's not just the nerd in the broom closet with the broom, you know, deflecting lasers and shit.
Yeah, I'm watching Super right now, and I like it. It's fun, but it doesn't have that substance, like you were saying, that Z did, for sure. There's moments you get glimmers, a little bit of it here and there, that pop up where you're like, okay, that was a cool moment that called back to this, and it does actually kind of expand that a bit with their characters, and I'm enjoying all that because I didn't expect that going into it. But Z was like, if you really paid attention to that show, there's a lot of that going on throughout the whole thing. Like, yeah, is it like big battles and stuff like all the memes are saying, or it's just characters charging
yelling
up? Sure, but you know,
it's what the yelling means.
It's what they're saying. It's what led up to that moment. It's knowing the context of those characters. It's knowing how they've evolved from point A to point B and how they got there and what made them change, what made them who they are. You know, that's the important bit of that show. Just like it's the same thing for Star Wars. It's like, yeah, it's the laser fights, but it's like, what happened to get the laser fights there? Why is Anakin fighting Obi-Wan? Why is fucking, you know, Vegeta fighting Goku?
Oh my God.
You get what I mean? It's why is that happening? And if you really pay attention enough to like honestly care enough to know what the plot's about, you can mine enough out of that to learn.
Bro, immediately I thought of is like, oh, what is it, Vegeta? Is it the same old song and dance between you and me? Or is it Bobby barking orders through that stamp on your head? What does it matter? I suppose to you it wouldn't matter. And I'm just like, oh my God. I'm just
great
I'm
shit.
gushing
But
so
that's
hard
the
right
that's
now.
the thing that makes stuff like that great. Is if you
Absolutely.
can relate to those characters, right? If you can relate to how they feel one way or another, where it's like, I can't really knock that character, especially villains. I can't really knock that character
So
for
important.
feeling that way,
Yeah.
because who's to say I wouldn't do the same thing? If I was put in a position where I thought my wife was going to die in childbirth, who's to say I wouldn't try to do everything that I could in my power to make sure she didn't die?
A great hero is great, but they only go as far as how compelling the villain is, or like
Right.
the threat at hand.
Right, right.
Oh my god. This is all right. So offshoot question:
Sure. Yeah, we can change it up.
is there a game or a bit of media or anything that you've absorbed recently that you'd like to draw a bit more attention to? That you like really kind of maybe not necessarily came out of left field, but you're like, this is important. I think more people need to know about this.
Xiaoping.
Bars. Dude,
I think more people need to know about him.
they will in time.
Nothing off the top of my head. I think it's cool that Fallout's blown up.
Yeah,
I do think that's cool. I really enjoy that. I really liked the show. I wanted to talk about that a little bit too, like playing through Fallout. Like, it's been a while since I played through it. The one thing, like playing through the main story, I played a little bit of the main story quests here and there, and I've been doing all the side shit, really just trying to soak in everything the game's got to offer. But with that being said, it kind of ties back to what we were talking about originally, where it's like, I put 40 hours in this fucking game and feel like I've gotten nowhere. I will say that I actually like the story of the show more than the story of that game that I'm playing, of Fallout 4. Not that it's bad, it's just I think it's better in the show, because there's a lot more.
Wow. Okay.
There's shit that happens in that show. I don't want to spoil it for you, but like, there's some shit that actually adds some depth to the characters, and it is surprisingly really good. Like, really solid. Probably more
I'm
solid in
looking forward
the
to it, too.
storytelling than any of the games.
Wow.
With that being said, I think the thing that really is like strong about that Fallout game I'm playing in particular is that Bethesda is really good with environmental storytelling.
Which is crazy to me, because like more on the like superseding your genre or category or whatever it may be. Like, my sister watched Fallout.
Fallout? Yeah.
I'm just like,
My mom watched it.
yeah, which is
She's
fucking
never even heard of the games.
crazy to me. Yeah, I remember you telling me, you're just like, oh, hey, you remember those games I was playing as a kid? This was one of those things.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's just like, yeah, more to the point of like, man, the things we absorbed as kids.
It's cool to see those shows get the love that they deserve.
Absolutely.
Because in a way, it's like a cool way of connecting with your family or friends that aren't gamers. Because like when I watched that show with my mom was genuinely curious to be like, okay, what are these people? Like, okay, what is this? What is that? And I had to kind of break it down. Like, okay, well, in the games, this is what that was. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, you know, characters are like the ghouls, or like what are stim packs, or like all these things that are like in the games, or like the Brotherhood of Steel and these factions and stuff. I had to like explain it to her. I was like, okay, well, I was like, they explain a little bit of that in the show, so I won't just tell you. But the stuff they don't explain in the show, I'll be like, all right, I'll explain that. And like, it's cool because in a way, it's like you connect with your family in a way, because, you know, like she may not be a gamer, but like we can now connect on that thing because she liked the show.
No,
which I think is cool.
That is
Like,
cool. Like for me, I'm a little jealous because your mom has a bit more of an open mind to things of that nature than my mom does. Like, I really have to twist my mom's arm to like
really?
get her to like if I go over, I'll throw on Cobra Kai, and she's like, this wasn't bad. I'm just like,
Cobra Kai is cool.
See what
Yeah.
happens when you fucking watch something, Mom?
Yeah,
See
Cobra Kai is cool.
expand your horizons a little bit. No,
Yeah,
like it's so funny. But you know, I remember one of the big things I twisted her arm to watch was Joker. And
Good movie.
A really good movie. And my mom was like, you know, I don't really care about superheroes. I'm like, no. Watch it. No. And she was like, wow. And I'm just like, Mom, you don't understand some of the things that I watched when I was a kid, and like some of the meat that was actually there. And like, she's like, I had no idea. I'm like, you gotta like
there's some substance here.
absolutely. And like,
You are starting to see that dissolve though, like that stereotype of like, I'm not watching this because it's that. Like,
very
you're
true.
starting to see that dissolve. I really do think that. Like with the Fallout thing, where it's like 10 years ago,
No
a
shot.
Resident Evil movie in theater. Yeah, I'm not watching that. Like, And I don't blame them, because me as a Resident Evil fan watched that movie and I was like, this is dog shit.
It was dog shit, but I loved every minute.
Yeah, as a kid, because you're like, I'm seeing my video game as a movie and this is cool, but then you watch it as an adult and you're like, yikes, this is bad. Like,
it was for
bad.
me.
Like,
I didn't watch anyone past the first one all the way through, but for me, it was so bad that it was enjoyable, kind of.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of that going for it, but like, you don't really want that for a video game movie, because then it just makes the video game look bad to people who don't play it either. They're like, oh, cool, this is what the video game's about.
This is what it's all about. I'm like, well,
you fucking
no.
dork. Like, yeah. So like, seeing, you know, the love that video games are getting with creators and directors and stuff, because they legitimately like the game.
I was gonna bring that up too.
You know, they have love for the game. You can tell that they have love for the game when you watch the show. So it's cool to see that that's starting to dissolve, because people are like, okay, I'll watch the show. Then they're like, all right, damn, like, I know nothing about this game, but this is pretty good. Like Last of Us.
Oh yeah.
You know, I always thought that The Last of Us, the moment that game dropped, I always thought that'd be a good show or a movie.
That's so good, because it's like, you know, these IPs are getting in the hands of, like, you know, the fans that play the games are getting older, and they're getting into these positions where it's like, hey, like, I'm coming on as a fan and I get to direct this.
Yeah.
And like, I can give it the love and care it actually deserves, and that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, inversely, like, one of the things I said I was playing was Elden Ring. And we've talked about Elden Ring before, where Elden Ring was a funny situation where, man, I like the game. I will give it up that I think it's a good game. But at the time of its release, like just before its release and then like shortly after, because it was all anyone ever talked about, I became so exhausted on that game so fast. Like, when we went to work together, like, the first thing anyone would ever come up to me and talked about is like, dude, I was playing Elden Ring this weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and even now, like,
yeah,
if people are talking about Souls, they're likely talking about Elden Ring. But after I was done with it, I was like, I'm burnt out on it, but I recognize that, dude, that was a solid package as far as
and we did talk about that a little bit, because I did feel that with Fallout for a bit. I was playing it when the show came out, and when the show first came out, like, I was telling people, I was like, you guys gotta watch this show. I did not expect it to get as popular as it did. That show is massively popular. So like, in the height of that, I had people at work coming up to me like, should it start with Fallout 3, New Vegas, or 4? And I'm like, you little bitch, I played that game 10 years ago and now it's cool to fucking, you know what I mean? But then in a way, I'm like, it is cool to see people like actually play the game. But in a way, it like, because like you said, everyone's talking about it, you just watched the show, I was like, I'm a little burnt out. Like,
it's definitely a double-edged sword.
And I took a break for a while, because now that the hype's died back down a little bit, I was like, all right, I'll get back to Fallout 4 now.
It's getting the attention that you always wanted it to have, but because of that, it's exhausting. But also, like, you and I are both of the same mind, depending on the thing that it is like, I kind of didn't want this to be like massively popular. I wanted it to be a thing for me. I don't know where that comes from, like, because I get it too.
Yeah, I think people like that because they want things that separates them from everyone else. It's
individuality.
People want like something. Not for everything, because some people want things that other people like too, right? Like to like things. But I do think that some people really do connect on certain things, whatever it be, on such a deep level that they almost want to cherish it just for them, because it's what like makes them them. That's how I feel about certain bands. Sometimes I'm like, I really connect with this music so much, and I really like this band that much, that in a way it's like, it's cool if other people listen to it, but it's special to me. And by having other people, this sounds selfish, but like having other people also like really either like them for the wrong reasons because it's popular or connect to it, you almost feel like that magic for yourself is a little bit lost.
So like I don't think I felt that way musically. I remember one of the biggest ones for me was 10 Years, because 10 Years is one of my favorite bands. And if you've never listened to them, give them a listen. They're hard rock. And I always tell people, it's like, oh, you know, hey, like, this is one of my favorite bands, give it a listen. I've never felt that way musically. An artist I recently picked up, which I'll actually ask you the same question. An artist I picked up recently, his name is Braden Ross. He makes like hyper pop stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly the genre, but you know, stuff that's really good for me to listen to while I'm skating or drawing, like totally fits that vibe that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
What's an artist for you that you've recently like just discovered or maybe did a bit more of a nosedive into?
Oh, dude. In a little bit of way. No, I giggle a little bit just because I'm like, in a way, I'm now gonna. If people, no, fuck it. Yeah, I want the band to get more popular. I like finding bands that are really small. Like I like finding bands that are like really not all that popular and listening to them. And because it gives me that like, this is like, I know about this band. Not a lot of other people know about it, but hold
on. Before you do that, because you said they're small, I want you to look up right now how many active listeners they have or what their most popular song is at right now.
Okay, so monthly listeners on Spotify.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Let's see how that ages.
For this band. So this one's got 30,000 monthly listeners.
Pretty low.
And then I have another one that I really liked that I found recently, and they're even smaller. They have 29,000 monthly listeners.
All right, so now let's drop the names.
Now, the last band that I was just looking up, their most popular song has 600,000 plays. So it's they don't have a single song that's cracked a mill.
So what's the band and what's the song?
So that song is called Hole, and it's by a band called Heavenward.
Yeah.
Heavenward released an album last year called Pyrophonics that I have the vinyl of. Hung up on my wall, and I really, really liked that album a lot. And I think that's why I'm saying it, is because I think it's so good that I want other people to listen to it. I like it a lot. It's more of like a grunge shoegaze type band. So if you're into like the kind of 90s, 2000s sound of like that era of rock music, I think you'd really dig this.
So before we move on to the next band, what's a song you would recommend someone getting into Heavenward?
I did a cover of one of their songs. It's called Planned Human Combustion. You should go listen to that song by them. You can listen to mine if you want, but I want you to listen to theirs because it needs more traction. I want to give it. And Tangerine, great song. I think both those songs were really good. But that's kind of a reason why I did a cover of one of their songs too, is because I was like, even people that like listen to my music, I'm like, I want to turn them on to this band. Like they deserve the love. The other band that's smaller, it's called Blue Imagined, and they make more like dream pop type music, which I really like dream pop too. Completely different kind of sound than the last band. Their most popular song has 52,000 plays.
Okay. Now, what's the song you would recommend by them?
There's two. So I like the song You and I. That has 15,000 plays. Like, these are small bands. And then there's another song called WWYD. It's not even in their top 5. I like finding that though. I like finding these bands. Another band that I did that with a lot. I do this all the time with bands. Troy can attest to this. My other friends can attest to this. I am pretty notorious for finding small bands like this right before they blow up. A perfect example is a band called Super Heaven that made the song Youngest Daughter that is a meme everywhere. I found that band literally like 6 years ago. They didn't even have a single million plays. Let's go to Super Heaven now.
I'll do mine real quick.
Go for it.
So for Braden Ross, as of right now, it has 144K monthly listeners.
Okay.
The most popular song is over a million, so 1.253 million.
Okay.
So for their most played, and then a song I'd recommend by them or by him is "Watch You Sleep."
Okay, cool. Hell yeah, I'm definitely gonna give them a listen. I like supporting small artists like that. So when I found Super Heaven, Youngest Daughter was their most popular song when I found them. That's how I found them, was that song. But when I found that song, it had 600,000 plays. Since the memes, that song has now 88 million plays.
It'd be interesting to see.
They have 2 million monthly listeners. That's crazy. That's for a grunge band, this is a grunge band. This is not a mainstream like pop band. This is straight up 90s grunge in the modern day. And it's almost got 100,000 or 100 million plays. That's fucking insane.
You know, I'll do one more too, but it'd be interesting to see Spotify have maybe they do, I just don't know. It'd be interesting to see Spotify have like a chart to where like you could see like the spikes of when people were listening to it. So
Yeah,
you can go
when
back to 2016
and see when they blew up.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be interesting. I don't know if they actually have something like that. Maybe there's like something you could look up.
The biggest band to this day that I have found when they were small and they got like insanely big is 21 Pilots. I found 21 Pilots a long time ago through a friend. I saw them for $20 at a bar.
Wow.
Legit, $20. Like I was 16 or 17 at the time, and they played at a bar. And I mean, literally like against the railing, they were right in front of me. Didn't know a single fucking song. I just literally was like, he was like, you want to go to this concert? I was like, sure. I was like, he was like, it's $20. I was like, he's like, it's $20. I was like, okay. So I asked him, I was like, can I get $20? I want to go to this concert. Had never heard of the band. She was like, what are you seeing? I was like, 21 Pilots. I was like, I've never heard of this band. And I went and saw them. It was the best concert I'd have seen at the time. I would still put it in my top 3 best concerts.
Maybe you said where was the venue?
It was a venue. It's not even around anymore because we live in Reno. It was called the Knitting Factory. That later got turned into the Rock Bar, and it was in downtown.
Okay.
But it's literally a bar. You like walk in, there's a giant bar on your right, and then like 10 feet in front of you is the stage. Like it is so small. Like maybe a couple hundred people could fit inside. I mean, it's small. They put on a hell of a show though. They put like a board over the crowd, stood on top of the board, put their drum pieces on, and started drumming like on top of the crowd. I was like, this is fucking, I was under it. I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like holding them up and shit. Way cool. You can find footage of that concert online. A buddy of mine posted videos of that show. So I went home and I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this band. Like that was a cool ass show. And they just released Vessel, which ended up getting popular, but was not really popular when it first came out. It ended up getting popular because of their next album. So I became a fan on that album, and they had a little bit of traction. I'm not gonna say they had no listeners. They're like they blew up, dude. Like, so like next year later, they released an album called Blurry Face. And then obviously that song Stressed Out came out, and that really just catapulted them. Cause I was telling all my friends and stuff, I was like, dude, you gotta check out this band. I was like, there's some good ass songs on here, like really creative and out of the box, like type music. And people didn't really bother to listen to them until Stressed Out came on the radio. And then they were like, weren't you telling me about this band not too long? I was like, yeah, motherfucker, I was telling you about this band. But like out of all the bands that I've found, like there's been a few that like I found when they were really small and then they got blow up. This one really blew. I mean, everyone knows this band is massive now. Like 21 Pilots, one of the biggest bands in the world right now. Like it's crazy. And the cool thing I like that I really dig about them today is aside from one record by them, which I really didn't like, Scaled and Icy, I didn't like that album. I felt like that was like the prime example of like selling out in a way, like to the general masses on sound. I was not about that. But for the most part, like their newest album they came out with is like peak for them. Like I just think it's great songwriting. It's like sticking to their roots of what made them who they are today, while also being experimental with their sound. And I really respect when artists do that, especially artists that big. Oh yeah. It's so easy to go the path of the Maroon 5 and be like, I'm gonna make the same fucking 10 songs that I've been making. So I really respect when bands are like, you know what? No, I'm going to do something different on this record. Like, I think that's really cool for an artist to do. And they still do that, in my opinion.
Will get so much hate for switching up their sound, where it's just like, one of the biggest bands of all time, Linkin Park,
Yeah.
We're such big fans of, so many people are such big fans of, got so much hate. It's like, I think you guys should go back to like the new metal sound. Excuse me, sir.
Pardon.
Woof to you too. Yeah, man, like it's really nice to see that, like, bands aren't just selling out and just be like, oh, you guys want to hear like just this sound, like I guess we'll keep going, because then a band gets like in a way depressive of just like, we're not really making what we want to make, we're making what we think people want to hear.
What the mainstream wants us to make. Yeah.
So for me, my other band is and you've heard me talk about this band a number of times, is Dayseeker.
Yeah, they're solid.
Their monthly listeners right now are 1.5 million.
That's pretty solid. Okay.
Pretty solid. I don't think they're like
pretty successful.
Yeah, successful, not super duper mainstream.
No.
Their songs are actually, this is weird. I reading this wrong?
What?
Because it says their number one popular is Medicate Me at 7 million.
Okay.
It says their second most popular is Sleep Talk, which is a song I would recommend, at 57 million.
Okay, so
is it just...
I read the song that has the most plays when I was showing you all those other ones. The reason why that other song is at number one is because that just happens to be the song that's trending with them right now.
Gotcha, okay.
So it's number one because it's trending. It's not because it's number one because it has the most plays. That other song is technically more popular. It just happens to be that number one song is what's trending for
Which
them
I
right
haven't
now.
even listened to Medicate Me as of right now. The song I would recommend would either be Burial Plot or Neon Grave, which is their fourth and fifth most popular. But I would actually recommend you guys, apart from going to listen to those songs, listen to the acoustic rendition of those songs, because I think those are really solid too and really pretty.
Oh yeah, dude. Good shit. Good shit.
I think we've kind of reached like a precipice, if you will, where it's like I feel pretty comfortable with what we've recorded so far. And if you have any closing thoughts, I would.
No, I was thinking the same thing. I'm sure we've gone for about 2 hours now, if not longer.
Do you have anything, any wrap up?
Because
I also have one more game to ask you about for night or day. I asked you 4 earlier. Do you have any?
I got a quick question I want to ask you. What's a band you want to see?
Probably Dayseeker, which you saw a bit of because somewhat recently you went to Sick New World.
Yep. Yeah.
How was that?
Awesome. Fucking awesome. I actually liked that festival more than Aftershock, and I've been to Aftershock 3 times because of the layout. I thought I was like, oh, this is going to be bad with the way the stages are laid out, like side by side. But you don't have to choose one or the other. You can be in your spot, look over at this stage, and they don't play on top of each other. Like as soon as this one's done, this one starts. Like they're prepping the gear on this one while this one's playing. And I think the layout of that is just so much better because in Aftershock, it was like a hill in the middle. And on the left side of that hill was one stage, and on the right side of that hill was another. So you'd have to walk all the way around to watch Korn. And then as soon as Korn's done, you're like, I gotta go see Tool though. And you'd run all the way around, and Tool would already be full because these people chose to skip on Korn.
Oh, fuck. Man.
So like that happened to me a few times when I'd be like, okay, I'd rather be close up front for Tool.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say I'm not going to that one. But at Sick New World, I was like, I want to see System of a Down. So I was like, I'm gonna be more on the left side because I want to be closer for System of a Down. But that doesn't mean I skip Slipknot. Like I heard Slipknot still playing, and they were right next to me. So I got both those shows. Like that layout was so much better. And dude, it was sick because I saw Super Heaven at that fucking festival, which is kind of the main reason I really like. I love System of a Down. Don't get me wrong. They're a huge band. And they were a bucket list band for me too. But it was cool seeing Super Heaven because those were the 2 main stages, right? But where Super Heaven was, they were on like the small stage called the Diablo stage. And the way that was laid out was like there was just a giant tent covering it to block you from the sun. But it felt like a bar. Like there weren't that many people at that stage. And the people that were there were hardcore fans of Super Heaven. So people were stage diving, fucking like going crazy for like all of their songs, not just Youngest Daughter. And they were incredible. Their sound was fucking punchy. They just sounded like a fucking solid rock band. I was like, this is sick, dude.
Hell
like,
yeah.
Great. Fucking had a great time, dude.
Which is funny because you told me, and I was telling you about Dayseeker, and you're like, yeah, I think I saw a bit of them while I was there, which was badass. So like, yeah, that's a band I'd definitely love to go see. What was a sleeper band for you that put on like a surprisingly good showing? You didn't have high expectations for it, but you got there like, okay.
Oh my God, what's the name of the band? Bringing the Horizon was really good. I'm not a huge Bringing the Horizon fan, but they were really solid, but that's not the band I was thinking of. There's another fucking band there. God damn it. I'm actually really upset about this. Put a text over it of the band name. I'll get the info later. Sorry, I'm not trying to just literally just bam and just put the fucking band name. They were sick. They were fucking dope. I didn't
band? Rad.
Yeah, put it boom right there. They were fucking sick. They were really cool. I feel terrible for forgetting them.
Sleep Token.
Lorna Shore. Lorna Shore. They were dope. They were dope.
Oh,
Holy fuck, that just came to me out of nowhere.
Wow.
Still put the text there. Lorna Shore, dude. They were dope. They were really cool. They're like a little bit out of my taste of metal. They sounded really good. Their singer was on point. Their guitar solos were incredible. They're fucking dope, dude.
It's actually been so long since I've seen
Knocked Loose, dude.
Anyone live. The last time I saw anyone live, I was probably might have been 20.
Really?
It's been that long.
Before that festival, the last concert I went to was in 2019 before COVID, and it was for Tool.
Yeah, dude.
They were fucking
okay.
dope,
Who's someone? Because you asked me that, it's like, well, who's someone you'd like to see?
Man,
who's on your list right now?
Some of the bands that I would like, I wish I could see, like I can't anymore because either a member died or they're retired or something. Deftones would probably be,
fuck yeah,
because that's actually like a plausible band that I could see. They haven't come around to Reno or been close enough to go see them, or I just haven't had the opportunity to buy the ticket and see them. But I would see Deftones. I really like Deftones.
Okay.
They're definitely a band I would see.
Fuck yeah, I think that's a pretty good place for me.
Yeah, dude, same. Hell of a podcast.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one just as much this time around.
Yeah.
You know, maybe one day you guys will actually get more of a topic-based podcast, but these really in general kind of discussion-based podcasts. This is just how we talk in general, guys.
Yeah.
Honestly, both of them have been really solid. I want to thank you for joining.
Yeah, dude. Good shit.
And
fun.
I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to see more of this fucking crackhead dog, if you guys want to see more, remember, check out the rest of the channel. We have a bunch of content already posted and a bunch of content that's going to be coming to you guys in the near future. You know, plenty of stuff that we talked about when we talked about, you know, content we want to bring to the channel.
Yeah.
Let's play stuff of that nature. And yeah, check out this guy in the description at CodeMeisterP or CodeMeister_P, depending on where you're looking. He does all kinds of music stuff and is only dipping his toes more into the scene as he goes on.
Yeah, and if you want to see more of this guy, go check out XG_Sen or G_Sen on Twitch or YouTube. If you want to hear those analysis videos like that Batman Beyond one that we were talking about, go check out his other channel, Crouch Block, where he talks about all that shit, and show some love and support for the boy.
See you guys in the next one.
Peace. What's your dealio, dude?